This is the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show with your hosts, Maurice, Patton, and Wade Neely. Proudly presented each week by our friends at the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans, don't let fans drive drunk.
Welcome into the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show for week 11. Goodness.
We have made it.
We have made it. We've made it to the end of the regular season.
Yes.
Yes. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We are presented by 10 Pin Alley, Eat, Play, Party, and by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans, don't let fans drive drunk. Week 11, the final week of the regular season is upon us. From here on, it's the road to Chattanooga, as the Blue Cross Bowl is scheduled for December 5th, 6th, 7th? 6th, 7th, 8th? It's the first Thursday, Friday, Saturday in December at Finley Stadium in Chattanooga. And can we get someone there? We'll see here over the following 5 weeks. But right now, we're going to take a look at the next to the last week of the regular season and the results thereof. And
to that point, real quick, some of these teams, either this week for sure, but maybe even last week or 2 weeks ago, they've been basically playing playoff games, right?
Yeah.
In terms of must-win situations. So this is the big time right now.
It's been kind of a win or go home for a handful of our local teams here already. So the good thing about that is when they get to the playoffs, they'll already be in that mindset.
I mean, we'll discuss later, but that could be a big factor, right? You're already having to play mistake-free football or, high-stakes football with 2 weeks to go in the regular season. And now all of a sudden these teams that have maybe been rested or maybe, kind of easing into the playoffs, we see it every year. There's a team that makes a little bit of a run, and usually because they've been playing their best ball down the stretch.
Yeah, and they've had to.
Right, yeah.
Exactly. So, we'll take a look back at week 10 and our results from there, and we will take a look forward at what we've got coming up this weekend, including Thursday.
Yeah, that's the other cool thing about this last week. I don't know the exact percentage, but it feels like at least almost 50-50, maybe 60-40 one way, I guess. But a lot of games on Thursday. And so some regions will be definitely determined on Thursday, which kind of gives you that extra day of rest, of course, which is huge, but also gives you a little extra time to scout, which coaches like to throw out there too.
They do like to do that. So, we will talk about all of that here when we continue on the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show after this.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yeah, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yeah, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
Hello, I'm Rick Whitley.
And I'm Daniel Pollard from Jones and Lang Sporting Goods. We would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you for the many years of support. Since 1966, Jones and Lang has been locally owned and operated and supplying teams from T-ball to college. Stop by and see what we can do for you. We offer a wide variety of services from silk screening and embroidery to our custom trophy and awards department.
We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and Saturday, 9 to noon. Remember, Jones and Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
He shoots, and he scores!
Welcome to JHA Company, your trusted Scholastic partner. We continue to serve schools with yearbooks, letter jackets, and graduation regalia. But now we offer so much more. Our school photography division offers high-quality images that capture the spirit and energy of your students and staff. Let us help build your identity, creating a cohesive look that represents your school's values and traditions. Our e-commerce solutions make it easy for schools to manage and sell their branded apparel online. Let's work together to make every school year unforgettable. Visit our website or contact us today to learn more. JHA Company, celebrating achievements, building identities, and creating memories.
Welcome back into the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show presented by 10 Pin Alley and the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. Looking back at week 10, we had a Thursday night affair as Waverly came to town and left town with a 42-13 loss at the hands of the Loretto Mustangs as Loretto continues to take care of business in Region 5 2A.
Yeah, and this was a game that we talked about last week, got moved up to give the Lady Mustangs kind of their shine, which they did, by the way. Shout out to the volleyball squad on getting it done. So Loretto moves it up. Waverly takes the move up, and everything kind of seemingly broke in Loretto's favor. Tidwell had a great game at quarterback. 5, I think, maybe even 6. 5 touchdowns for sure as passing for over 250 yards. He was electric, and it felt like a good win for Loretto, kind of at a time where they needed some things to go their way down the stretch.
They needed some things to go their way down the stretch because they've got a big one this Thursday that we'll be talking about more later. On Friday, Region 6-6A action, Independence looking to extend its win streak to 3 straight games. They had a tough task against visiting Brentwood, and it did not go their way as the Bruins got out with a 20-6 victory that was 20-0 at one point before Independence scored late.
Yeah, and, you know, you had hoped, obviously, that Independence would have kept some of that mojo going, would have played well. And, I mean, obviously the coaching staff for Independence, there really is no such thing as a moral victory for them. I mean, if you ask some fans, and, you know, as good as we've talked about as Brentwood is, there's probably some positives somewhere in there to take out, you know. And so, obviously, the result didn't go your way, but a very, very tough opponent, whether you're playing at home or on the road, as Brentwood comes in and gets the win.
No question. Columbia Central goes on the road last Friday night and takes care of business in a big way, 45-14 against Lawson, their 3rd straight victory.
Yeah, good win. This checked all the boxes.
It really did.
For Columbia Central. You didn't overestimate an opponent. You took care of business seemingly in all 3 phases of the game, and you kind of just kept the good vibes rolling as you enter a big, big showdown coming up this week. So that checked all the boxes for me. That was a quality win and a business-like win in my mind for Columbia Central.
A business-like win, and the question for us had been Central's offense. They got 148 rushing yards on 11 carries from the junior running back Justice Haggard. They also got 2 touchdowns on the ground, and he caught a pass for a touchdown as well. So he seems to be saying, jump on my back coming down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, how many times we talk about it even in the NFL, right? I mean, nobody wants to tackle a really hard-hitting running back in the 4th quarter or in the latter half of the season. And we got a lot of good...
And especially in the 4th quarter in the latter half of the season.
Even worse at that point for the defense. So that is promising to see because, you know, depending on the elements, there might be nights where your passing game, even if you want it to go well, is not necessarily going to cooperate. So getting the ground game going, you can almost bank on that. So that's good, and that's a key for Columbia Central's offense going forward, it seems like.
Absolutely. Columbia Academy fumbled on their first possession, scored on their next 6.
Wow.
Handled Mount Juliet Christian 42-7.
Good win for Columbia Academy, yeah. And props for overcoming a little bit of a shaky start. The fact that you kind of keep your composure, you know, get right back to work and take care of business. Kind of like Columbia Central, just a nice business-like performance for Columbia Academy. These wins don't have to be flashy, And sometimes it's better that they're not necessarily flashy. The fact that you were able to get everything you wanted kind of done speaks to me, at least, kind of where they sit going into the final week of the regular season.
Get it done and get out.
Yeah.
Mount Pleasant followed that approach as well, going over to Hickman County, snapping a 3-game losing streak with a 35-6 win.
We talked about it on the show last week. Mount Pleasant, this would be a chance to get back to good, a chance to kind of restore a little bit of the roar there. But we also said, they had lost their right to overlook any opponent at this point, and at least on paper, and at least, what we've read about how the game went down, seems like they didn't. So a lot of business-like performances. We kind of have used that phrase already a bunch, but it bears saying again because Mount Pleasant, if you had told me Hickman County came out and gave either Mount Pleasant a scare or, heaven forbid, even, beat them, considering where Mount Pleasant was, I wouldn't have necessarily been shocked. But the fact they kind of got back right and kind of righted the ship, that is big for them in my mind.
Absolutely. We talked about Columbia Central kind of hitching its wagon to Justice Haggard. It feels like Mount Pleasant is doing likewise with the sophomore J.P. Easterling. He scored their first 2 touchdowns over at Centerville in that win. And right now, offensively, it seems like Mount Pleasant goes as he goes.
Yeah, and that's similar script to Columbia Central, right? If you get the ground game going, good things will happen. And that is impressive by Mount Pleasant. Again, a team that, not saying they had overlooked anybody up to that point, but they couldn't afford to with the stakes kind of being high. Good win for them.
We talked about Nolansville possibly looking past Summit to Page in their Region 6-5A championship matchup coming up this week. I don't know if they were looking past Summit at any point, but Nolansville led this game 13-0 in the third quarter, lost it 20-13.
Oof. First of all, props to Summit on getting back and coming back in that game, but also, man, on one hand, I got to call it like I see it, but on one hand, I am impressed, and that was a nice effort there from Summit, but on the other hand, if you're Nolansville, man, that is a discouraging loss, given everything that you just said, because were they winning massively? No, but any lead in the second half, if you're a team with, title aspirations, should be safe and needs to be protected as such. And man, props again to Summit on getting a big win. Didn't see that one coming.
Mason McElhaney hit him over the top for a couple of touchdown passes and then scored the game winner with about 3 minutes left as Summit improved to 3-6 with that win. Spring Hill goes to Tullahoma Falls 31-10. Obviously, the Raiders kind of struggling to the finish line here, falling to 1-8 with that loss in Region 5-5A action.
Yeah, tough go of it there for Spring Hill. We had said, though, Tullahoma's playing maybe its best ball of the season, and it could not have come at a worse time for Spring Hill. If they caught Tullahoma on a couple weeks before, maybe a little bit different outcome, but you're still going to have to battle through this final game in week 11. But it was a tough one for Spring Hill, but kind of ran into a little bit of a, I'm not going to say a buzzsaw, but they definitely ran into a hot team right now in the Wildcats.
Absolutely. Speaking of hot teams, undefeated McKenzie comes into the Brickyard and takes care of Giles County 47-14.
Crazy game. 0-0 at the end of the first quarter, and then McKenzie rolls the dice, goes for it 4th and goal, and converts on the first play of the second quarter, and then the wheels absolutely fell off for Giles County. By the 8-minute mark of the second quarter, it was already 21-0, and that game got away from Giles County in a hurry, 27-0 at the break. There was a running clock in the second half at one point, and GCHS.
And that rarely happens to Giles County.
Rarely happens in general, and it was their worst home defeat since East Nashville got them by about 38 points in 2019. So it's been a while since Giles County had been served as big of a slice as humble pie as McKenzie did. Giles County didn't do themselves any favors, I'll tell you that. But also, I'll tell you this. If you're in 1A, look out, because McKenzie looks great. They have I'm going to have a hard time coming up with another Mr. Football winner in 1A than Tate Serber, because the kid for McKenzie accounted for all 7 of their touchdowns. He did it running, he did it throwing. And again, Giles County didn't do themselves any favors. They had a couple of very unfortunate turnovers and really bad punts. And but you got to give props to McKenzie, because they are a juggernaut.
Eagleville and Richland don't want to hear that.
There was a point in our broadcast in the second half as we're filling time, because again, we're not used to Giles. We're having to fill time for Giles County, but here we found ourselves. And, we said to my partner, Chris Bledsoe, I said, Chris, as scary and as bad as this game has been, at least Giles County won't have to see this team in the playoffs. There is a real chance that Richland or perhaps Eagleville could see McKenzie not in the playoffs, but in the very first round. I'm glad I don't have to deal with those problems as far as the coaching staff. But to this game with Eagleville last week, props to Eagleville going into Wayne Hobbs and taking care of business. Kind of a dominating win in many respects for those guys.
Eagleville 26, Richland 7. Richland suddenly having lost their last 2.
Yeah, Richland, man, old times seem like really old times, right? I mean, just a couple of short weeks ago, we're saying how much fun this Richland offense is and how well they're playing. And they're still doing some of the things right. They just haven't caught a few breaks. They lose in overtime to Summertown, and it didn't necessarily go their way versus a trending upward Eagleville team. They have some questions to get resolved heading into this week.
Yeah. How much is the absence of Alan Kennedy impacting what Richland does?
Hard to say. It doesn't help by any means, but they've done such a great job of dispersing the football. Woodard has been fantastic. He's up to 6 interceptions, though, now. And, Richland has had a couple weeks ago versus Summertown, they turned it over 5 times. They had a couple of plus yardage situations that they didn't convert due to turnover on downs or just straight up turnovers in this game. And so Richland has kind of been their own nemesis these last 2 weeks. But again, Eagleville's playing well. Props to them for going in and cashing in on some of the stuff that Richland was doing wrong.
Summertown defeated Richland last week. Summertown defeated Lewis County this week, 35-18, in a big Region 5 2A win for the Eagles as they continue to surge under second-year coach Dan Winfrey from 1-9 last year to 7-2 with that victory, 4-2 in region play.
Man, I don't want to go into super hyperbole, but I mean, we're talking about them on a weekly basis, but you almost kind of got to wonder when the rest of the state is going to start talking about Summertown, because that is a massive turnaround, right? I mean, East Hickman is the cash cow in that region, but Summertown, after going 1 win last year, which was versus Richland in a non-region capacity, they're sitting there and they're right in that thick of things in a loaded Region 5. That is a good win. I thought Lewis County might give them a scare. I picked them to win last week because I wasn't sure about Summertown, and I thought Lewis County was scrappy enough to get the win.
Especially at home.
Yeah, especially at home, but props to the Eagles for going on the road and picking up a big win and proving me wrong last week.
And doing so in impressive fashion. Again, 35-18, they scored 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, and we've referenced this game from earlier in the season. Loretto was up something crazy like 28 points or 30 points even in the fourth quarter versus Lewis County earlier this year. And Lewis County comes back and gets it within 14 and, is onside kicking to maybe cut it closer than that. So they don't give up easy. So the fact that Summertown got a win as impressive as that is very promising for their chances going forward, I think.
Absolutely. We'll be looking at some standings as we look at week 11 games here in the next segment. But again, that's a big win for Summertown and really keeps them in the hunt to make some more magic as this season progresses. Final matchup coming out of week 10, a couple of teams that, for lack of a better phrase, aren't going anywhere. But Lawrence County gets a win defeating Franklin County 35-17 in Region 5 5A play.
Yeah, a good win for Lawrence County. And, you hate, that maybe you're getting back right or you're playing some of your better football so late in the season when you're already mathematically eliminated. But you still got to go out and play. And we mentioned it last week that you want to send the seniors off in style as best you can, which check. And then also you want to start developing for the future. And with a win like that on the road, that's an impressive effort for Coach Marston and his bunch, in my mind.
No doubt. When we continue here on the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show, like I said, we will take a look at our stat leaders coming out of week 10. We will take a look at our standings coming out of week 10 as we get you ready for the final week of the regular season. So stay tuned when we come back. Again, we are brought to you by the 10 Pin Alley Eat, Play, Party, and the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans don't let fans drive drunk. Stay tuned.
Hello, I'm Rick Whitley.
And I'm Daniel Pollard from Jones and Lang Sporting Goods. We would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you for the many years of support. Since 1966, Jones and Lang has been locally owned and operated and supplying teams from T-ball to college. Stop by and see what we can do for you. We offer a wide variety of services from silk screening and embroidery to our custom trophy and awards department.
We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and Saturday, 9 to noon. Remember, Jones and Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Welcome to JHA Company, your trusted scholastic partner. We continue to serve schools with yearbooks, letter jackets, and graduation regalia. But now we offer so much more. Our school photography division offers high-quality images that capture the spirit and energy of your students and staff. Let us help build your identity, creating a cohesive look that represents your school's values and traditions. Our e-commerce solutions make it easy for schools to manage and sell their branded apparel online. Let's work together to make every school year unforgettable. Visit our website or contact us today to learn more. JHA Company, celebrating achievements, building identities, and creating memories.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yeah, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yeah, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
He shoots, and he scores!
Welcome back into the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show for Week 11. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. We are presented by the 10-Pin Alley, Eat, Play, Party, and by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans don't let fans drive drunk. Before we look at our final week of the regular season and the slate that awaits, let's take a look at our stat leaders coming out of Week 10. We will start with our rushing leaders, and as we have started all year, we will start with Monte Baldwin. Had a short night Friday night, only 10 carries.
That's a good thing, though.
439 yards.
Yeah, not necessarily, good for his overall stats, but it's good for efficiency and good for the team because that means, they were rolling.
They were rolling. He got off his feet a little bit and, kind of saving him for more important tasks ahead. Caleb Oates' numbers didn't move because we didn't get their stats from the McKenzie game, but we will get those updated for next week.
Well, I can tell you he had less than 70 yards on the ground. He had a rough night. Giles County's offense had a rough night, and so you would almost if we didn't tell you that and you just didn't know exactly the numbers, you would be like, oh yeah, that makes sense because they didn't move the ball well at all last night or last Friday. Excuse me.
Nicholas McDowell from Loretta coming up on 1,000 yards. Carter Pettigrew continuing to do good work down at Lawrence County, and Justice Haggard over the 700-yard mark after that 148-yard effort over at Lawson last Friday night. The rest of our rushing leaders follow there. Passing leaders, Richland, we didn't get to update their numbers over the weekend either, but we will have them updated next week. But as you mentioned, they had a tough go.
Yeah, rough night for Richland, and Woodard he had a good night throwing the ball in terms of completions and completion percentage, but he did have one interception, which we referenced earlier. He's up to 6 on the season, and Richland really didn't get things going on the ground at all. I think they finished with under 150 yards of total offense. It was a tough sled. Similar to Giles County, it was a tough go of it for the Raiders.
Stephen Neves completed every pass he threw. He was 11 of 11 for 236 yards, 3 touchdowns in that win over Mount Juliet Christian, pushing him up over 1,300 yards for the season. We mentioned Mason Tidwell and the performance that he had last week. Also, Xavier Randolph and Cordell Isaac rounding out our top 5 and the rest of our passing leaders. You can see them right there. Receiving yardage, Kareem Bryant, Jake Sands, 1-2. Neither of those numbers are updated from last week. Harrison Brownlee, over 600 yards, 9 receiving touchdowns. Corbin Reynolds and Jackson Westbeld rounding out the top 5 for Loretto and Spring Hill, respectively.
Yeah, we've seen some good play from our running backs, some good play from our quarterbacks. We got to show a little love to the receivers as well. And so I like this list. And, yeah, we're seeing some big efforts. And some of these folks, have slipped on this list in terms of slipped on the list after, being off the radar a little bit. So as the season has progressed, some of these guys are catching fire in the latter half of the season.
Absolutely, which is what you want to see. Before we head into our Week 11 slate, again, let's take a look at some standings to kind of give some context to these games that we're going to be talking about. Starting Region 6-6A, where we'll be talking about Summit and Independence. As you can see, they currently occupy the number 4 and number 5 spots in the 6-team standings in Region 6-6A. Now, as we are aware, top 4 teams go. So when you look at Summit at 4, Independence at 5, both of those teams are not headed to the postseason.
Yeah, makes it tough. And, this is the part in the year, too. It happens every year. There's 1 or 2 teams that kind of get hot or, start playing well at the end. And you're like, man, if we had only done this earlier, we'd be in really great shape. So that makes it tough and bittersweet in that regard to see some teams playing some of their better ball of the season right at the end, but still being left on the outside looking in.
Absolutely. Ravenwood and Brentwood will meet at Ravenwood on Friday night for the Region 6-6A championship. As you can see, both of them are undefeated in region play. Ravenwood 9-0 following that big overtime win last week over at Oakland. Brentwood 8-1. So very high-powered matchup there in Region 6-6A for the top spot. In Region 5-5A, Shelbyville leads the pack. Lincoln County and Tullahoma. Lincoln County just lost to Shelbyville this past weekend, and Lincoln County defeated Tullahoma earlier this season. So Tullahoma still got a little bit to play for in the grand scheme of things. They can get up to number 2 conceivably. We will talk a little bit about Columbia Central and Lincoln County here in a bit because Central goes to the pit this weekend. So there's a lot still. As cut and dried as those standings look, they're not.
Yeah. I was just going to make that point. It kind of looks on paper, right? Like you kind of have it figured out, but when you factor in who's playing who this week, you're like, okay, this could be a little more difficult to calculate. So
could
should
get a little
be
dicey.
fun. Yeah, coming down the stretch, and everybody will be scoreboard watching in some capacity Friday night.
Oh, without question. In Region 4-3A, you'll be at this one Friday night. Another region championship will be decided in Week 11 as Giles County travels to Sequatchie County, both 3-0 in region play, but those overall records are a little disparate, I guess. Now, again, Giles County's played a heck of a schedule this year.
They have, and they're hoping that by playing they played, we just talked about earlier, they played McKenzie, Class A royalty, on a game they could have just left. That was an idle date earlier this year, and they decided, no, we'll fill it with somebody, and then they decided to fill it with McKenzie. So they are challenging themselves, and the thought is, challenge yourself with those games that don't count so you are prepared for the games that do. And this will be a fun one. Sequatchie County has had this game circled since last year when Giles County beat them. The Bobcats have won 3 straight region titles. This Sequatchie County team and this combination of Giles County team, I think, will be the most competitive game. More on it later, but it gives Sequatchie County the best chance. It'll be winner take all this weekend.
Absolutely. Region 5 2A, East Hickman has pretty much cleared the field, sitting at 6-0 in region play, 2 games up on everybody else, but it'll be Eagles on Eagles when Summertown and East Hickman face off this weekend.
Yeah, this is going to be a fascinating game to break down later because East Hickman, you're right, they've cleared the field, and props to them, man. They've had a heck of a season. But then Summertown, as kind of cushy, if you will, as East Hickman sits, Summertown's right there in the thick of things in terms of pecking order and trying to position themselves as best they can for the postseason. So that will be a fascinating game to me. You still got Mount Pleasant in the mix. Loretto's right there. This will be a fun region to kind of sort out. And man, we've talked about it all year, but this has been a loaded Region 5 2A.
It's crazy right now. And, you know, Lewis County is sitting there hoping that the right teams lose this weekend to put themselves back in play for a postseason spot, because right now they're kind of on the outside looking in. So we will be keeping an eye on the happenings in Region 5 2A. In Region 5 1A, again, Richland got off to a great start. They've kind of struggled here down the stretch, but they still got a chance to take care of business and close things out at the top of the region with a number 1 seed. They just got some work to do this weekend. But behind them, Wayne County has completed its region slate. And then you've got 3 teams right now sitting at 3-2 there: Eagleville, Huntland, and Moore County. Again, one of those teams isn't going to get in.
Yeah, we just talked about how loaded Region 5 2A was, but I think Region 5 1A is where we sit currently. It's going to be wild to see how all this plays out. Richland could win the region. They only needed to win last week or this week to do so. Losing last week, their first region loss, they could fall to as low as 4th if they were to lose and then things kind of broke a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and everybody kind of in that mix. Wayne County is the only team that is kind of potentially on the outside looking in. They're going to need some scoreboard help Friday night. So this will be fun to break down after the fact, because there's a lot at stake with all the teams. Like I said, 5 squads kind of vying for those 4 berths.
Yeah. In Division 2A middle region play, Nashville Christian and Donaldson Christian will match up Friday night. That game is over at NCS, and the winner is basically your region champ, because Donaldson Christian at 3-1, if they win, they in Nashville, well, not so fast, my friend. Hang on, because if Donaldson Christian beats Nashville Christian and Columbia Academy beats Grace Christian of Franklin in their finale Friday night, then you've got 3 teams tied at 4-1, and they all beat each other.
Yeah, that's one where you try not to lose too much sleep and just refresh the scenarios when they come out, or refresh the standings the next day, because otherwise it could get dicey. And, man, the 3 really good teams. It falls off a cliff a little bit in terms of the rest of the region, but those 3 teams are not just duking it out against each other. Those could be some squads that make a real run out toward Chattanooga.
No doubt. Those are your standings. Again, just trying to kind of set the perspective for some of these games here in week 11 as we take a look at those. Let's start with a couple of Thursday night matchups here, as again, Mount Pleasant travels to Loretto in Region 5-5A action. The Tigers 6-3 overall, 4-2 in region play following that win at Hickman County this past weekend. Loretto 5-4, 4-2. The Mustangs came up to Mount Pleasant last year in a region championship matchup and outlasted Mount Pleasant 56-52. I'm not sure Mount Pleasant can score 52 points this time around. I think Loretto has the firepower to, but against Mount Pleasant's defense, I'm not sure that happens. But this will be an interesting matchup.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one to look at. And you're right that if last year's score, if that somehow were to play out, you would maybe give the advantage to Loretto. Loretto's been in some wild games. They've been up, they've been down. They can beat anybody. They can lose to anybody.
Clearly.
Mount Pleasant can beat anybody, can lose to anybody. So that's going to be fascinating to see this one as it plays out. Teams battling, Mount Pleasant, obviously, a little sour taste in their mouth from last year. But having to go to Loretto on a Thursday night, that is a tall order. And so we shall see how this one unfolds, because I will not be shocked no matter what the result is,
right.
Whether it's either of those two teams winning, or if you tell me it was 8-6, or if you tell me it's 58-56. All those scenarios are in play on Halloween night.
Going to be busy in Lawrence County on Thursday night, because while Mount Pleasant goes south in the county, Summertown will be at home as well, taking on East Hickman, again, in a battle of Eagles. East Hickman 8-1 overall. They have virtually clinched the Region 5-2A championship at 6-0. Summertown 7-2, 4-2, but again, still plenty to play for, including a potential home game for the host Eagles on Thursday night.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Summertown, this East Hickman team hasn't had a ton of success traditionally. So they're going to want to come out and finish region play strong. So it's not as if they're going to, rest guys, and they might rest a little bit perhaps, but I think they're going to be just as hungry to finish the region play undefeated. Nobody wants to buy a shirt that says one region loss. You want the undefeated shirt to be able to get sold there. So I think that factor works against Summertown a little bit, but what works in their favor is they have to be up for this game. I think the opponent obviously draws their attention, but considering the stakes at play as well, should get their attention. I think this will be another fun one.
Absolutely.
As they get it on Thursday night.
Columbia Academy in play for a home game to open the playoffs in Division 2A. The Bulldogs 6-3 overall, 3-1 in the middle region. They travel to Leapers Fork, taking on Grace Christian of Franklin. The Lions 3-5, 2-2, and right now they are in play for the final playoff spot out of the region. In fact, I think they have clinched that. This is just for seeding here for both those teams. But again, CA kind of riding some momentum coming out of that big win last week against Mount Juliet Christian.
Yeah, Columbia Academy is set up for a similar script if they execute it as last week. Go out, take care of business, maybe get Baldwin a little rest if that's your goal in the second half, and kind of just get ready for the postseason. That's your goal, or that's your hope, right? On the other hand, you still got to go and take the best shot that Grace Christian Franklin is going to give you, because the other interesting component to some of our matchups this week is, even though some seeding may be set and some teams may be in or maybe out already the playoffs, it's the last game of the season for some of these teams, and you're going to get their best shot. And then they also want to spoil you as much as possible. So
sure.
CA's got to be on a little bit of alert, but I think they should be okay.
Yeah. Columbia Central goes to the pit, taking on Lincoln County, a Lincoln County team that has dropped back-to-back games here in the last 2 weeks. Lincoln County now 6-3 overall, 4-1 in region play with that loss to Shelbyville last week. Central 6-3, 3-2, and the Lions, with a win, could conceivably play their way into a opening round home game. Now, where that game would take place, who the heck knows, because Lindsey Nelson Stadium's natural turf has been torn up to put down artificial turf. So, Columbia Central could be playing for a home game that won't be at home.
I think I got that right.
Right.
Yeah, that is kind of jarring to hear, but yeah. Presumably be played in Maury County at least.
You'd like to think.
But yeah. And you certainly want to, if nothing else, at least you don't have to drive as far as your potential opponent. So that's at stake here. And this is going to be man, this is going to be a throwback game. I think it'll be a very, very competitive game. Lincoln County, they had Shelbyville, talking with some folks over there this week. They had them kind of maybe right where they wanted them in terms of entering the game, maybe catching them off guard, and just did not execute. And after suffering a tough non-region loss to Cookeville the week before, they got up for Shelbyville, but they couldn't quite get it done. They fall 35-7. But it was a game that, man, they really, really wanted, and it slipped through their fingertips. So they now have to try and rally the troops. Whereas Columbia, as we've discussed already, they got a lot of mojo rolling into this one.
It's really kind of been Shelbyville and everybody else in this region this year. Meanwhile, two teams closing out the season. Franklin County comes to Spring Hill. Well, speaking of artificial turf, Franklin County will play Spring Hill at Battle Creek because Buford Gladney Stadium has also been torn up for installation of artificial turf. But so it'll be senior night at Battle Creek for the Spring Hill Raiders as they get ready to take on winless Franklin County. The Rebels 0-9, 0-5. Spring Hill 1-8, 0-5.
Yeah, you always remember your senior night. This one will be a little more memorable than most because it didn't take place at your home field. But you got a lot to play for in terms of pride, and you have a winnable game in terms of who your opponent is and record-wise coming in. So let's see what Spring Hill can do this weekend.
These two will be playing for pride, but they'll also be playing for a playoff spot and for bragging rights as Summit comes north on Highway 31 to take on Independence in a big Region 6-6A matchup. The Spartans coming off that win against Nolensville last week, improving to 3-6 overall. They are 1-3 in region play. Independence 2-7, 1-3.
Man, if you're Summit, this could be last week's win could be really, really a shot in the arm in terms of your confidence. And who knows how this game could play out after what we just saw last week. And that buy-in factor is huge. And, as your season kind of maybe getting away from you a little bit, you come out and get a massive win like that. I think this will be a fun game between two teams that kind of don't like each other.
Just a little bit. Yeah. To kind of keep that on the down low.
Yeah.
We've talked about it. Dunlap, Tennessee is the destination for the Giles County Bobcats this weekend as they travel to Sequatchie County. Giles County 5-4 overall, 3-0 in Region 4-3A. Sequatchie County, what is their nickname?
They're the Indians.
They are the Indians.
Yep.
The Indians are 8-1 overall, 3-0 as well in region play. And I mean, you see those 2 zeros on the end of the region record, that kind of says it all.
Absolutely. Last week we built, you had 1A McKenzie rolling in versus 3A Giles. There's a catch weight bout. This week it's back to a heavyweight bout because these have been the 2 best teams in the region for 3 years running. Last year's game was a region championship game on this very week 11 at the Brickyard. Giles County gets a big win, but Sequatchie has played so well this season. They've scored over 300 points offensively. Giles County's got some concerns after last week's loss to McKenzie in their secondary. They also have some injuries they're dealing with. This will be a tough game for Giles County, and it will be their first region game in 3 years since coming into 4 AAA that they very well could lose. And if you lose that one, you lose that precious number 1 seed and the home games that come with it.
Absolutely. Moore County comes to Richland in a battle of Raiders. The visitors 6-3, 3-2 in Region 5, 1A. The hosts 6-3, 4-1. As we said earlier, a victory gives Richland the Region 5, 1A championship. A loss creates.
Don't even think about a loss because it's too complicated.
Yeah. Pass the Tylenol, please. Yeah, that's certainly an interesting matchup right there, given the standings that we just showed you a little bit ago. Finally, a little less interesting. Cheatham County travels to Lawrence County. The Cubs coming south with a 1-8 record. Lawrence County 3-6. This is a non-region matchup. Both these teams just closing out the season.
If you're Lawrence County, bottle up everything you just did last week and roll it into Cheatham County. Take out an entire season's worth of frustration on the Cubs, and you got yourself a good night on Friday.
There you go. When we come back here on the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show, Wade and I will give you our predictions for these games that we just talked about. So stay tuned.
Hello, I'm Rick Whitley.
And I'm Daniel Pollard from Jones and Lang Sporting Goods. We would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you for the many years of support. Since 1966, Jones and Lang has been locally owned and operated and supplying teams from T-ball to college. Stop by and see what we can do for you. We offer a wide variety of services from silk screening and embroidery to our custom trophy and awards department.
We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and Saturday, 9 to noon. Remember, Jones and Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Welcome to JHA Company, your trusted scholastic partner. We continue to serve schools with yearbooks, letter jackets, and graduation regalia. But now we offer so much more. Our school photography division offers high-quality images that capture the spirit and energy of your students and staff. Let us help build your identity, creating a cohesive look that represents your school's values and traditions. Our e-commerce solutions make it easy for schools to manage and sell their branded apparel online. Let's work together to make every school year unforgettable. Visit our website or contact us today to learn more. JHA Company, celebrating achievements, building identities, and creating memories.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yeah, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yeah, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
He shoots, and he scores!
Welcome back to the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show for Week 11. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We're presented by 10 Pin Alley Eat, Play, Party, and by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans. Don't let fans drive drunk. Hey, again, predictions. Mine weren't great last week. I went 6-5. Wade was 7-3. So I am now 65-20 on the season. Wade is 61-17. Let's see if we can bump that up a little bit with this week's slate. Starting again with a couple of Thursday night games out of Region 5-2A as Mount Pleasant travels to Loretto. The Tigers 6-3, 4-2. Loretto 5-4, 4-2.
This is going to be one of the more compelling games of the entire week, and it's kind of a it's on Halloween, but it's a treat that we get it a day early because you don't want to have that extra day to wait around. And I think it will be a raucous environment down in Loretto. You got two really good football teams that we've talked about earlier have played up. They've played down. They've kind of gone through the ringer in terms of emotions. But now both kind of enter with a little pep in their step, a little swagger coming into this one. I think it'll be a great game. And I think playing at home, and then also the offensive X factor, if you will. If the game randomly turns into a shootout, or if things kind of need to be decided by the offense, I think Loretto is the more capable of those two teams on that side of the ball, and therefore I'm picking the Mustangs to win it. I think it'll be a great game, and that place will be rocking on Halloween.
I think that place will absolutely be rocking on Halloween, and I think you're absolutely right. If it becomes an offensive game, that certainly favors the host Mustangs. I'm just not sure that Mount Pleasant can get into a shootout with Mason Tidwell, Nicholas McDowell, Corbin Reynolds.
They got some options, don't they?
Yeah. So I like Loretto in this one. The other Thursday night game, the Battle of the Eagles as East Hickman goes to Summertown.
Man, this one is a tough one for me to handicap in the sense that Earlier, I told you guys that East Hickman wants to finish the region undefeated. For such a tough and competitive region below them, they have stood alone. And obviously, they're extremely talented. They have scored more points. I take that back. Loretto has scored more points than East Hickman, but only 2.
Summertown has.
East Hickman. East Hickman's put up 323 on the season. Loretto scored 325.
No, hold up. It's East Hickman and Summertown.
Right. That's right. Don't worry.
Oh, okay. My fault.
I'll land the plane here.
Okay.
Where I'm going with that is East Hickman is explosive. East Hickman will take care of business if business is needed to be taken care of. And the fact that they get to play at home and the fact that they get to clinch the region in style, I think plays in their favor, and I think they take care of business at Summertown Thursday night.
I'm going to land the plane. My bad.
Okay, it's all good. The pilot's got you, baby.
Yeah, I'm trying to take the gear from you. I like East Hickman in this ball game, and that's, again, as we've said before, not to cast any aspersions at Summertown. I just think East Hickman over the course of the season has shown that they can win in a lot of different ways, and they've shown that they can put points up, like you said. I won't be surprised if Summertown wins this ball game.
Yeah.
But I'm picking East Hickman.
Man, what a season it's been for East Hickman, and no matter
and for Summertown.
And Summertown for sure. I mentioned earlier that Summertown's a team that probably should get a little more chatter across the state, but East Hickman has done a remarkable job as well. Should be a fun game, and obviously to our point with Loretto earlier, they're going to be fired up in North Lawrence County for this one as well.
No question. Friday night's matchups, Division 2A Middle Region finale sends Columbia Academy to Grace Christian. I think the Bulldogs close things out on a high note and get themselves ready for the playoffs, whatever that brings. Possibly a home game. We'll see. But I think they take care of business here.
Yeah, I'm with you. Give me Columbia Academy, and it just feels like this is going to be, maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like a repeat of last week. A chance to continue to build, continue to, smooth out some wrinkles for the postseason. And even though you're going to get Grace Christian Franklin's best shot, still feels like Columbia Academy will have the goods to win this game on Friday night.
Columbia Central goes to Lincoln County. The Pit isn't what we have known it to be because Lincoln County hasn't necessarily been what we've known them to be. But, you mentioned raucous for that Mount Pleasant Loretta game. I think it will be that type of atmosphere at Meadows Thompson Stadium for this Region 5-5A matchup. Lincoln County has shown they've been a little wobbly coming down the stretch here. And I think with what Central has been able to do all year defensively and what they've been able to do here of late offensively, I like the Lions on the road in this ball game, and it's going to throw these standings into a tizzy again.
Yeah, like we said earlier, just get the refresh button ready for the region standings. And yeah, everything that you just said checks out because Lincoln County rolling for much of the season and then takes care of business. This will be the game, man, this is rubber meets the road. This is a team in Lincoln County that loves to run the football versus maybe one of the toughest, if not the toughest defense they've seen all year. Man, you got a coin handy? I'm taking Lincoln. I'm closing my eyes and just praying, but I'm taking Lincoln County. Being at home, man, they got on a different level last week in terms of the crowd environment for Shelbyville. There could be a letdown factor, but I don't know that the crowd will let them down if the Falcons aren't up for it. I think the crowd maybe helps guide them to a close game. And like I said, I'm just closing my eyes because I think it's going to be a tight one.
There we go. Franklin County Franklin County and Spring Hill at Battle Creek. It is senior night for Spring Hill. It won't be on their campus in their stadium, but it is senior night. And I just feel like having seen both these teams, I think Spring Hill has a better chance of getting something done offensively. I felt like Franklin County could play with Lawrence County last week.
Mhm.
I was obviously wrong. And with that in mind, I'm taking the Raiders here.
That's a good pick. Before I make this pick, I got to ask one question. The game versus Lawson that Spring Hill wins, where was that game played? Was that on?
That was homecoming.
But it
For
was at
Spring
there. That
Oh, no, that was at Spring Hill.
okay. All right. So
Yeah,
so there's no trend there with them looking to go to 2-0 at Battle
at
Creek.
Battle Creek.
But with that being said, I'd like to play into that factor, but I also think Spring Hill just is able to rally the troops. And I also just think Franklin County has had a rough season.
They really
And I
have.
think they're just not there. Spring Hill showed a little sign of life. I mean, it could have, as well as Tullahoma's been playing. If you had said the score was 56-0, I would have said, yeah, I mean, that would be believable. But the fact Spring Hill kept it a little close, give me the Raiders.
14-3 at halftime.
Yeah, give me the Raiders on a quote-unquote home field Friday night.
There we go. Giles County at Sequatchie County. No. Hold up. Summit at Independence. There we go. I like Summit coming off that win against Nolensville. I'm taking the Spartans here.
I like what I've seen from Summit at times this season, and the fact that they've got a good ground game is appealing to me. And man, like we said, you were there Friday night. You saw the comeback. I think that does play a big factor, and I think that is maybe a turning of the corner for Summit, and I think they win this game. I'm taking the Spartans.
Giles County at Sequatchie County. You are abstaining. I am taking the Indians.
It's going to be a good one. If Giles County is healthy, it'll be even better. Giles County's not healthy, it could get out of hand because this is a loaded Sequatchie team. Again, this is one of their best seasons in a long time. Should be a dandy, though.
Moore County at Richland. I think the host Raiders rise up one time. Give me the fighting Nick Pattersons right here.
Man, I'm taking Richland as well because they have been their own worst enemy the last couple of weeks. They've not necessarily lost. They haven't been necessarily beaten. No disrespect to Eagleville, but they haven't necessarily been beaten or had the game taken from them.
Mm-hmm.
They have been their own worst enemy. I think playing at home, Moore County has caught fire in the second half of the season, but I don't know that it's enough. Yeah, I can't go against Coach Patterson and the Richland Raiders, the Orange Raiders, on Friday night at Wayne Hobbs, because the region championship is dangling for the Raiders if they take it.
There we go. Finally, Cheatham County at Lawrence County. I'm picking the host Wildcats in that one.
Give me Lawrence County as well. Like the win last week. I think they run it back again this week. Close it out in style.
There we go. That's going to do it here for week 11 on the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show. We appreciate y'all tuning in. Again, we're presented by 10 Pin Alley, Eat, Play, Party, and by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans don't let fans drive drunk. We'll see y'all next week as we get into playoff action.
This is the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show with your hosts Maurice, Patton, and Wade Neely. Proudly presented each week by our friends at the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans don't let fans drive drunk.
Hello, I'm Rick Whitley.
And I'm Daniel Pollard from Jones and Lang Sporting Goods. We would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you for the many years of support. Since 1966, Jones and Lang has been locally owned and operated and supplying teams from T-ball to college. Stop by and see what we can do for you. We offer a wide variety of services from silk screening and embroidery to our custom trophy and awards department.
We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and Saturday, 9 to noon. Remember, Jones and Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Welcome to JHA Company, your trusted scholastic partner. We continue to serve schools with yearbooks, letter jackets, and graduation regalia. But now we offer so much more. Our school photography division offers high-quality images that capture the spirit and energy of your students and staff. Let us help build your identity, creating a cohesive look that represents your school's values and traditions. Our e-commerce solutions make it easy for schools to manage and sell their branded apparel online. Let's work together to make every school year unforgettable. Visit our website or contact us today to learn more. JHA Company, celebrating achievements, building identities, and creating memories.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yeah, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath